The fumbling octopus is what JjoNak stands for. Do you wanna hear it, Matt? It's Jombolak Nakji or something.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, I think so. Fumbling octopus, but he doesn't fumble.
My favorite is when it was the double. It's obviously JjoNak, but when people would see J, they would say JjoNak.
Yeah, that's an incredible one. I still get people in like my ranked games, whenever they pop off, they scream, "I'm JjoNak." Like, oh my god! I mean, you've just proven that you're not JjoNak.
Better representatives of the Timmies, dude. The people who say JjoNak.
Yeah, absolutely. But the fact that they do say JjoNak shows that his excellence has actually permeated even the plebeian mind.
Yeah.
So my argument here today for you, Matthew, is that JjoNak is still the best flex support. It's just that other people have not. They tend to overlook it just because he can't play the Zenyatta anymore. But the guy's nasty.
I mean, he is nasty, but the team has always played a different play style. They always played around JjoNak. No other flex support's gotten as much help as JjoNak as a player. I mean, he plays with a tremendous team. They play a slower pace. They put a lot of resources into him. I think he's definitely one of the top flex supports in the league. I don't think you can say anymore that he's the number one guy. I think with other flex supports like even Twilight, right? And now Alarm, you can't really just say and write it off that he's the best.
I can, Matt, and I will.
Why?
He is the best because nobody else, no other team in the league can play around their flex support in the same way. It's not just about giving him the resources. It's not just that. Okay, you can give a guy all the resources you want. We've been playing Valorant recently, right, Matt? I can give you all the smokes I need, all the flashes, but you ain't hitting those shots because you ain't good. You ain't good, Matt, right? So I put you in the best position to succeed, right? Like every team does with their flex support.
What is that slander?
It's just that JjoNak absolutely rips. He slangs.
Our bot Omen on split in the mid. I don't think you can say it because we haven't seen New York play in a while. When we did see them play, he was not the world beater that we once knew. And then also it's like we've seen games recently, and I say recently, last year and some of this year, where he's put up really good numbers and they don't win. I do feel like there's something to be said where he does get a lot of help, which is, you can't really blame him for it. I mean, that's the way the team plays.
Yeah, because he's so good. Yeah,
right. Because he is incredible. But when he doesn't play well, the team just crumbles. Like when you see other flex supports, right? They don't put up the crazy numbers. Although I think Twilight does. I think Alarm with the same capabilities and the way they would play around him, I think Alarm could as well. I can't say like pound for pound. Like if you were to put Twilight on NYXL, would they be a better or worse team?
Definitely a worse team.
How much?
By a considerable margin, I think. Because because they play a very different style, though. I don't think that's just because of the skill. It's because he doesn't play this like carry flex support kind of style that JjoNak does. I mean, JjoNak Zen is. I still think that JjoNak Zen is the best that we have in the league.
It at worst. He's the third, like the worst you can slander JjoNak is saying he's the third best player in his role.
Yeah.
Like at worst. I mean, who else would you even rank up there with him? You would probably put JjoNak, Alarm.
Yeah, Twilight. And then, I mean, I don't even know from there. I mean, the
Violet, but we haven't even seen Violet play that much.
Exactly. Violet really hasn't been at that kind of level consistently. He still makes too many mistakes. I mean, Gangnam and Myunbong were two big pickups from Korean contenders this year, but they're playing on pooey teams. So
I think you're almost at that point looking at like, is the drop off from those three down to like Izayaki and Shu?
I mean, Shu's a good shout, honestly. He's a very well-rounded, underrated player. And I don't think that he's bad whatsoever. But, I mean, maybe then you talk about Badoshin, honestly. That's somebody that hasn't had that much success because he's been playing with the London core and they've been all over the place.
Flex support a position that we think that there's a lot of really sick players, but there really aren't.
And no, I think there are a lot of sick players. I think the fact that we're going down to, I don't know, like middle of the pack, we've already... Yes. middle of the pack is still incredibly, incredibly good. But to return to JjoNak here, everyone talks about his Zenyatta. His Zenyatta is the best in the league. If there's anybody else that can step up to his Zenyatta, we haven't actually seen it yet in the Overwatch League because we haven't.
But he lacks in some of the other.
He doesn't lack in Ana. His Ana slangs. He's so good at Ana. He's got aggressive playstyle on Ana. He picks off people in the backline. His synergy with Sebi was amazing.
We haven't seen him play like a Baptiste. Really, that
we've
much
seen him play a little bit of BAP. He might do whenever he comes back because I think the BAP plays really well into double shield. But so far, I mean, a lot of the Baptiste and Brigitte that we've seen from other players in the league hasn't even been that good. So, is this Moira? I mean, if you're going to bring up the Moira, Matt, then I'm afraid I've got no counter arguments or arguments for you. It's Moira.
Plat chat would not slander any other programming out there, but we will slander programming that ranks Moira players. And that feels like they have the ability to be like, that's a good Moira and that's a bad Moira. We ain't doing that.
Yeah. No, that's that at the pro level. There is no such thing as a good or a bad Moira.
What do they say with the Overwatch thing? They're like, not on my watch. Like, yeah, no, that shit ain't happening on my watch. On my watch, we're not doing. Look, you'll know we're dying for content here on Plat Chat. We're ranking Moiras. We're having Moira head to heads because there ain't nothing going on. But I do think there is something as well. Like, is the fact that his Zen is so good takes away from the team a little bit. And I say that because season one, there weren't a lot of teams playing Zen in the playoffs, and New York tried to force the Zen because he's good at it, and they looked like poo-poo platters.
That's just because they had a bad read on the meta at that point in time, but they did it in the next following playoffs. Yeah, it was just a bad read on the meta. If you've got the greatest Zen in the world and you have just absolutely slaughtered your way to the playoffs playing around him, you probably try and pick up some kind of strat that plays around him. It's 2-2-2 for God's sake. Everyone was expecting that to be the correct way of playing.
If 7 people are over at A and there's one guy at B, is it a bad read for the guy at B?
No, he's a sick lurker, and maybe it doesn't work out, but okay. Listen, your Valorant analogies are not going to work on me, Matthew.
If everybody's at the same point and they're all the way at the other one, they were the only team that didn't even play the meta really that much.
But you can't blame JjoNak for that. Like, it's almost utterly irrelevant at this point anyway. Like, you want to rank him based on his Roadhog?
If he's the best player, they should have been fine.
No, he was the best player, and that's why they picked a strat around Zen, but it just was not the meta. He was getting snacked on by Badoshin playing Roadhog and stuff.
What would you have to see for you to not rank him as the best flex support?
I would have to see them play again, and for him to kind of keep throwing out weird ultimates. That, I think, is the biggest thing that I was looking at last year in the GOATS meta, is that when he couldn't just play a fragging style that was about taking the angles and trying to build up ults and use them, when his team was in position, when it was all about very strict ability usage, then his ults looked a little bit off. But generally speaking, the guy's been super solid. And I think it's kind of the case of he's the best until someone knocks him off the top. Until you can name a good replacement for him, he just de facto is the best.
If we keep seeing weeks where there's not a lot of Zen, I think you'll start to see some holes potentially. Like if we get a lot of weeks where there's a lot of Ana play, Baptiste.
Dude, his Ana's so good. I can't take that. His Ana is outrageous. His Ana might even be better than his Zen.
That's wild.
Dude, his Ana is so good. He's got ridiculous accuracy. His sleep darts are monstrous. He's got do you remember him playing on the Horizon and he just comes straight out of spawn and just sleeps the Sombra? They go on to win that game. Like, he comes out with plays like that all over the time. He throws aggressive bio-nades towards people to get picks. This guy's a monster. The only question in my head about whether or not he's the best is he better than Twilight? And so far, we've only really seen Twilight be really good at Ana and Moira, and his Zen has been okay.
Not as good. Twilight Zen's not as good as JjoNak.
No, it's not.
Close. It's not close. That was a dumb argument we needed to tell you guys when every map mattered last year. But it's not. It's just not. I think the argument against JjoNak is that there's other flex supports that are equally as mechanically skilled but have slightly larger hero pools. And that may play a little bit, I don't want to say safer, but They could play in an environment where they could be pocketed and have resources and do fine. And they can also do the other part where they're not really given much of anything and still have a high impact.
I think we've also just got to wait and see a little bit for how he and his team actually perform once they start playing again in the league. But I'm expecting them to do and continue to do very well. I don't think that New York has to win in order for JjoNak to be the best flex support.
No. What we haven't seen them play. We've talked about it a few times. We have not seen them play since week 5. For those of you at home who may not be watching every week, we are now in week 10.
Now, having said that, we haven't seen the Titans with Twilight play since week 1.
We will see it tonight at 3 a.m.
Yeah, by the time this goes up, you will have seen Twilight.
You may have already seen it in the future, so you'll already know the answer to this question. But
well, who looked smarter? Was it Matt going for Twilight, or was it me going for JjoNak? I mean, I get the kind of easy route out here because I can just be like, no, it's fine.
Nobody looks smart when it's us two.
Well, you certainly don't. All right.
Oh, come on.
I got to do you like that just at the end. All right. Who do you agree with? Do you think that JjoNak is the best? Let us know in the comment section below. I have a feeling that this will incite violence. A lot of people were on the Twilight hype train last year from GOATs.
Yes.
Bloody GOATs players. GOATs abusers. Nano GOATs abusers.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah.